Okay.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. And thank you so much for joining us here at The Movement. We are The Movement, a motivational organization here to educate minds, empower, nurture, and transform. We are a movement to move. We're so grateful that you decided to join us. You could have gone anywhere else. You could have done anywhere else or been anywhere else, but you decided to stop by here tonight. And we're going to have a great discussion. We're excited. Every week, we're excited to sit down and talk to you. So, we just want to say welcome again. And then,
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the movement, a movement to move. We are excited as always what God is going to do. We believe that something will be said and done to lift up your spirit so you'll be able to win and go to the next level in your life. Again, welcome.
yes, we want to see you win. Our purpose is to help you thrust into your purpose so that you can start living your best life and win. So many of us don't actually go to that next level. We don't exhaust every gift and talent. We, kind of just start going through the motions. And then when you get to a certain age, you're like, wow, that's supposed to be something else. There's got to be more to life than this. And perhaps you just haven't tapped into your purpose. And so what we're doing is we're motivating and helping people to transform into their purpose, start businesses, movements, ministries, whatever it is that's in your heart to do. We want to not only see you started, but we want to see you actually grow and become very, very successful and prosperous. And we want to help others, and we want to just continue to spread this goodness. So that's why we're on here tonight. And our topic tonight is one that, sometimes when you get right into that stride, you're almost there. You're like right there at the brink of really, really finding your mojo. Sometimes when you first get started at something, it's exciting. You're like, okay, I've crossed that bridge. I started. Whew. And then all of a sudden, everything becomes kind of slow and stagnant, and you don't know which way to move. You start kind of feeling your way through, and you're not really 100% sure. Like, okay, can I really do this? Or is this the right time? Or, should I start over? I don't know what to do. It seems like I just haven't quite tapped in to the right place yet. And we feel a little off. Yeah. And it happens. It happens to every person. But if everybody stops at that point, there would be nothing moving. Imagine if Colonel Sanders had stopped with selling chicken on the side of the road after the Great Depression. But he didn't stop. He went from selling chicken, and then he actually bought a gas station. And of course, things were very, very easy and cheap then because he had gone through the Depression. Nobody had money. But he had saved enough money from selling fried chicken on the side of the road that he was able to purchase a gas station. And inside of, they call it a filling station then.
Yeah.
And inside the filling station was a little area for like a little restaurant. So he started serving chicken from there in the filling station. And if he had stopped then, at that time, he was like 40. But then he was introduced to someone who actually introduced him to the first franchise opportunities. And he was 40, he was like 40 years old when he actually got the filling station. But at this time, he was like 66 years old. And he bought into the franchise that we now know as Kentucky Fried Chicken. He bought into that idea. And it was at that point that he became a multimillionaire. So imagine if he would have stopped at selling chicken on the side of the road and thinking, well, I've gone as far as I can go. I wanted me a restaurant, but but this is it. I failed. And that's it. Well, we have a great discussion that we want to talk to you about tonight because so often we find ourselves there. I'm going to share. So often we find ourselves right here. But we want to tell you tonight that failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. If he would have stopped so long ago, I don't eat it anymore, but trust me, I've had my belly full of Kentucky Fried Chicken with the mashed potatoes and gravy. Gosh, they had the best mashed potatoes and gravy.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, it was so good. I used to love to get every drop of gravy. This is something about it. But back in the day, that was all we had. I remember before there was ever a Popeyes or a Church's Chicken,
That's
there
right.
was Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that's where everybody went. You got original or extra crispy. And there were only the only sides they had at that time was mashed potatoes and gravy and coleslaw. They didn't even have biscuits. Remember?
I know, yeah.
They had a bun, and then they migrated to the biscuit when they started competing with Popeyes and Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then they actually came up with the best biscuit because their biscuit is the best.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but trust me, if you've lived as long as I have, you have had some Kentucky Fried Chicken on your table. And if he had stopped at that point where he didn't think he could go further than selling on the side of the road and buying the filling station and then on to the franchise, none of us would know what KFC is.
Yeah, true.
That's just how powerful your vision and your dream is. So when you get to a point that you feel like, wow, I've reached the end of the road, I've reached my limit, I don't know if I can go any further from here, I'm here to tell you that failure is not an option. You can't stop there. It is not an option. Type that in. Failure is not an option. Now that's gonna take me a minute, but I'm gonna get mine in. Because this is the stuff right here. Failure is not an option. Uh-oh. Failure is not an option. So I want you all to keep that in your mindset, that when you're faced with any obstacle, with any setback, with any stumble, you're going to get this in your mind tonight, that failure is not an option. Now, what we have to do, if you notice we have the chalkboard here like we in school, we have to go back to the basics. Because the basics is where we find all of our necessary information for moving. Because, we started with nothing. Most of us who started a small business or a movement or a ministry, you start out small. Nobody starts big from the beginning. And maybe your big might be big to somebody else, and your big maybe, is probably going to be a monster by the time it's done. But everything starts off from somewhere. So we're going back to the basics. And in the basics, we just want to lay out a couple of things for you. The word fail is actually a verb. Now, this word means to be unsuccessful at achieving a goal. To be unsuccessful at achieving a goal. But then when you look at the word failure, failure is a noun. Now, that is the state of inability to perform a function. You are a failure. There's a difference between failing and being a failure. And for those who are coming on, please just mute yourself because I haven't done that. But so to fail is a verb and failure is a noun. Now, to fail is an event. And guess what? It happens sometimes. Yeah. It happens sometimes. You're going to have moments where you're unsuccessful at something, where you didn't quite make the mark. You didn't quite get that recipe right, where you didn't quite hit the note right, where you may have misspelled a word in your quote. You may have, just missed the color a little bit, or you may have missed something. So failure is not what we are. It's an event. It's fail. It's just that moment. To fail is a verb. Remember, to fail is a verb. Failure is a noun. It's a state of being that you can achieve, which is not true. Because when we look at it, there are moments in our lives that we may come to a place where we stumble, and we might lose our bearings a little bit. We might get off course. We may even venture off course. We might take a seat and just chill for a minute. But I'm here to tell you that somebody's waiting for what you have, so you have to get back up and keep trying. Yes. I have been kind of basking in this for about for about 3 good days, because when we get to this place, sometimes we become stagnant, we get tired, we get frustrated, and we just stop functioning. Because we feel like, oh, well, it ain't doing nothing anyway, so why am I even showing up? Why am I even doing this? Because nobody's calling, nobody's popping up, nobody's doing whatever. And it's not about what everybody else is doing. It's about what you're destined to do. And if you know that you're destined to do it, you have to get up every day and you just have to do it. Because that moment that you failed is just an event, but you're not a failure. You're not a state of being. You're not just that total failure that is uneventful and does not function and can't function normally. When a person talks about kidney failure, the kidneys don't function anymore. But you function. As long as there's breath in your body, you are not a failure. When you open your eyes every day and you see the sun, you're not a failure.
That's right.
So you have to not put that, you have to get that out of your mind. Failure is not an option.
Yeah.
Option is the freedom of choice. Option is the power or the right to choose. So I have to choose to say, I'm not a failure. So I have the right to stand here and say failure is not an option. It's not an option for either of you, and it's not an option for me. Is somebody feeling this tonight?
Yes.
Because I know how hard it is when you're trying something, and especially when you don't have support. Because a lot of times people just don't get why you're doing what you do, first of all. And I think it was Brenda who said that they give you this, I forgot the word she used, but she was like, they give you this false sense of, like they're faking.
Oh, yeah.
They're faking it, like pretending, oh, yeah, oh, great. But they don't get it. You can tell that they don't get it by the way they respond. You can tell that they don't understand by their lack of enthusiasm. And especially when they get that little, oh, like that little, especially when they don't understand something and why you're doing something that you're doing, they're like, oh, okay. I mean, they don't get it. And so oftentimes we'll start feeling like, wow, I have no support. My family don't support me. Well, they don't anyway. We talked about them shits. Sometimes it's just, it is what it is. And that's why you have to leave people behind, and you can't count on the familiar faces to always be the one. Because the familiar faces will drag you right on down into that state of being. And I'm here to tell you that that's where you'll start to really feel like a failure, when you keep weighting yourself down with what's familiar. Break those chains off. Make the choice. You have a choice. You have the freedom and the right to choose. And I choose today to say failure is not an option for me.
Yes.
So I don't care what it looks like, failure is not an option.
It's not an option.
Maybe you need to put that in your mirror as an affirmation. When you look at yourself in the morning, for those of you who are doing them, look at yourself in the mirror and say failure is not an option. It's not.
It's not.
Wow. That's something. Because here's the other thing. We can't redesign the divine design. You were designed for what you're doing. So what you're going to do, go back to the drawing board and tell God how to do it? You're going to go back and redesign the divine design?
That's it.
Because if he did it by design, then who are you to go back and redesign it based on your insecurities, your shortcomings, or what people say or how you feel? Your emotions are liars. We told you that anyway.
Yes.
So instead of going back and trying to redesign the design, keep moving. There's nothing wrong with making changes. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about not making changes. There's some changes that need to be made when you go through refresh, restart, reboot. But the overall vision is what it is. And if it is what it is, then you keep moving. You keep trying. You keep pushing. Because I guarantee you, most of us stop right before the finish line. We stop right before the blessing.
That's right.
I bet if God showed us a view of how close we were to an abundant life, to an awesome marriage, or to whatever, and how close it was to us, if he just showed you from that vantage point where you're standing and where your $1,000,000 is and where your car and your house and your business and all of that, where all of that is, and you standing there and you decide to turn around, some of us would be so hurt. Because I used to say all the time, I don't want to see my movie. You know, they say God can show you before you go into heaven. I don't want to see my movie. I'll pass on my movie. I'll just take God's word for it.
Me too. Me too.
Because I know I've missed a lot of stuff. I know I've missed some stuff, but you know what? I'm still here, and I'm not a failure. I may have missed some things, and I know I have. Nobody have to tell me. I know I have. But guess what? I kept getting up, and I kept restarting. There's nothing wrong with getting up and brushing your teeth.
Right.
There's nothing wrong.
Yes.
But don't try to redesign the divine design. It's already been designed one time. You don't have to redesign it. You can't reinvent the vision. You can't give yourself the vision that the visionary gave you. Okay, God, I know this is the vision you gave me, but I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna do that. No. You just go back and figure out what you missed and figure out what you're supposed to do differently, and then you keep moving. Because failure is not an option. Just that basic stuff. Right in there.
Yes, yes. Back to the basic. Failure is not an option through the eyes of a child. Failure is not an option. Learn to see yourself through the eyes of a child. It's interesting because children are not tainted by life. Everything is new to children. They feel like they can do anything. You know, they do things just because. And they don't care what other people think about them. And their imagination is limitless. So if we go back to the base and we realize that failure is not an option, we begin to change our view and see how kids see it, even down to racism, kids don't see that.
Exactly.
Yes, but a lot of stuff that we do and a lot of ways that we feel is because of learned behavior. And if you get a childlike mindset and begin to see everything new, take that dream and that vision and brush it off and look at it in another way. You know, we see things one way. Maybe say, you know what? Maybe I can change something here. Maybe I can redesign this business. And tell yourself, I can do this. I can do anything. I mean, I've seen kids jump off of houses and all kind of
They're fearless.
Yeah, because that's right. They do it. And if we get that kind of mindset and we begin to see our lives and we see our visions and our dreams and our business through the eyes of a child.
They're fearless and they're honest too, and that
yes, you're right. Very honest. Oh my gosh, almost to a fault. Sometimes you have to be careful what you ask kids. Because my daughter, she told me, you're the best grandmother. I said, oh. She said, but sometimes you're not because you don't take me to McDonald's. I'm like, really?
Oh my goodness. No, she didn't lift you up and then tell you right back down. But that's kids though.
Yeah.
They'll tell you exactly what's on their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know what? If we looked at that too, I agree with you on that. If we sat back and looked at life and looked at ourselves through the eyes of a child and were honest and fearless, and you know, like I used to take my nephew, he used to try to punch like the cartoon. And he'd be like, pow, bam. There ain't no power behind that little punch there. And she go out that wasn't gonna hurt, but in his mind, he was hurting the person. Like they were supposed to fall out.
Yeah. And not only that, kids are very inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
We stop thinking, we stop dreaming, we stop realizing it can be. We stop thinking of possibilities. Where kids think about things. Sometimes if you sit down and really talk to kids, children, you'll be surprised some of the things that come out of their mouths and out of their minds. So we get that kind of mindset and start looking at things differently, and don't allow this world to taint us, what people say we can and cannot do. You know, we start off defeated a lot of times. We already tell ourselves, well, I'm gonna try, but you know, I don't know if this is gonna work. Well, we already defeated. Mm-hmm. Well, with a child, so you know, I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do this. You know, I'm fearless. My imagination is limitless. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So failing is not an option, because when you begin to view stuff different, if we only could change our view, stop looking at life with our eyes and begin to look at it with our mind and our hearts.
Mm.
Because sometimes your eyes will lie to you. Your eyes will cause you to see something that's there, but your mind say, even though that's there, I still can go further than that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's so wonderful to look at life through the life of a child. And even when I was looking at it, I never really thought about it. That how children just come up with an imagination that I don't even know if a lot of us have an imagination anymore.
As a child, I was a big dreamer, and I would imagine things, and I would, I would pretend I'm in a room full of people performing, and I would dream about going places. And you know what? Over time, I think I attended a class one time, and the guy was saying, just imagine if someone would have fed the dreams of some of the children
Oh man.
instead of calling them crazy and saying, putting them on medication because they're creative and they don't know how to function in an environment that is not conducive to their learning style. He said, imagine if we took the time to just feed into what the children, how they function and who they are and the beings that they're becoming, we would be surprised, but we put them in a systematic situation and tell them who they are. And they stop dreaming.
Yeah, if you tell, yeah, and you're no longer cultivating your dreams and
Mm-mm.
no longer cultivating your visions, and it's just so much, it's limitless. It's just so much that we stop seeing. We stop seeing, and we just live our life has, they say, okay, well, I'm never gonna, I can't, I won't, I will not, instead of saying I can. So the eyes of a child, but not only through the eyes of a child, in life there are no mistakes, only lessons.
Mm.
There are no mistakes, only lessons. To say that there are no mistakes, only lesson means that one's perspective of life is always a learning process. So if you look at some of your oopsies and you didn't quite make it and you fell short as a lesson, because what it does, it's like a stepping stone. Every step you take, every mistake that you may have made, but just realize that it's a stepping stone to get you to the next lesson, because there's a lesson for everything you go through.
That's so true.
Yeah, when I go through stuff, and especially in a difficult time, I'm like, okay, God, what are you saying? What's this lesson? Where are you trying to take me? I always tell myself that I don't care how bad, even good. I always try to find a lesson. I always try to learn. Now, I haven't always been that way. Just
Mm-hmm.
recently, I really start viewing life different. So if I don't, um, with the movement, if I fall short in the area, I say, okay, all right, then I'm not going to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
So life teaches you what you should do, and it also teaches what you shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So mistakes are just another lesson. Every lesson you get will not be in a school behind a desk with a teacher standing in front of you.
That's right.
Life is probably one of the biggest lessons you will ever learn,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times with life, there's no books.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to walk through life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no mistake. So whatever you're going through, we're here to tell you that you're just learning a lesson. You're learning how to build. You even learning how to tear some stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning how to go around some stuff, and you are learning how to go over. So there's such a lesson in learning that it's no mistake. And even I dare say, and I'm going to throw this in, it's not even a mistake. You're not a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. You've been called for a purpose. There's a lesson even in your life, because I believe that we were put here for a purpose. And and Anita said, alluded to this earlier. There are a lot of us right now that have things that somebody else is waiting on. You may have that next, whatever the next song. You may be the one waiting, somebody waiting for you to write the next hit, waiting for you to produce, the next movie, the next book. So, there's so much that's inside of us, and it's a lesson that we learn. And sometimes it's a hard lesson, but it's a lesson just the same. But not only that, we have lessons repeated until it's learned. This, I was thinking about this when I was, I can remember all the way back to first grade. And during that time, we used to have the little kind of brown paper we would write our names. And they don't do it a lot now, but penmanship was very important when I
It
came.
sure was. It's
Yeah.
not.
It's not. And you had the paper with the little line, and, you write the capital A and the little A. And so, you would have to do it over and over until you got it right. Now, granted, like I already said, that's not important now, but it was so important when we were growing up. And then you had to do same thing with math. And if you couldn't add, what's the point of going to being able to multiply? If you couldn't multiply, you couldn't divide. So we had to keep doing it over and over and over.
Repetition.
Yeah, and sometimes life is like that. You got to it repeats itself. Because I've even had moments in my life, it'd be like deja vu. Like, I already been here before. I already did this before. So when I see that, I say, okay, God. I mean, I'm always thinking, what lesson am I?
That is so true.
Yeah.
I've faced situations where I step into something and I say, God, I've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is there for me to learn now? Because I'm not going to deal with this and this and this time in this situation. So
Yeah.
I have, I'm prepared for some stuff, but I'm looking for whatever the situation is the lesson I didn't learn before, because why am I at this place again?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a positive thing. It's been there already, but you didn't do it then. So, it's almost okay. You got another chance to get it right. You didn't do it then. Okay, you got another chance. Sometimes that's life. It's a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some things we may never get a chance to go back to. But there are other things, that like me, I'll never be 18 again. That's kind of sad, but I won't be. But there are other things that I've learned, and it is repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over and over again. Back to the basics. Like I said, when I started talking about it, how the penmanship. And I used to practice and practice and practice writing my name. It was so important to me growing up. But that's because that's what was instilled in us. And so we had science, you had to read and remember and go back and read and remember. And you had to, because you're going to have to take a test. And if it's not open book, you got to remember. So you got to be repetitive. When I was in college, I had to keep, oh my gosh, what a horrible time. I had to keep doing things over and over and over and over. I can remember because the test was coming. So life is a test. There are things that you're going to have to do over and over because the test is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take what you've learned and apply it to your life. So a lesson is repeated until it's learned. And that's something even from little kids when they're in school. Holland, she's learning math, and she has her struggles, but it's important, and that's how life is. So if you would type in for me, it's only a test. It's only a test. You learn lessons, and at some point you're going to take a test. Yeah.
That's true.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because you don't go to school any length of time without taking a test. Everything you learn, at some point, you're going to have to take what you've learned and apply it to your life. They say, now, if you don't learn the easy lessons, they only get hard.
Oh my goodness! If you don't learn the easy lessons,
they get harder. They get harder. Like we were talking about this on one of our lessons, how we were talking about math. You got to learn to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and then you get to stats, and so every step gets harder and harder, and that's how it is. If you can't learn, how to be committed to a vision, if you can't learn how to follow your dreams, well, you think it's just going to wake up one day and everything going to be wonderful. No, there's steps. You got to step 1, step 2. You're not going to go step 1 to 10 and you got it all together. No, there's going to be some study time. There's going to be some times that you have to really focus. And we want it easy, but that's not how life is, y'all. That's just not. it's not that way. And I was looking at some stuff like, some different things like, my mom just said, she used to tell me, the road is not easy. And she was right. It may start off easy and you may get a break sometime, but it's not always easy.
Nope.
Hard work is hard work. I mean, I just said, you think you have time. Sometimes we don't always have the time we think we have. We have to learn that time is precious. So whatever time you have, invest in it wisely, because once time is gone, you can't get it back.
That's true.
So those are some of the hard lessons that I learned later in life. The invest, don't spend. And I used to spend every dime I had.
Everybody did. I know I did. It took me a while to get that one.
Yeah, and never get attached to your plan. That's a lesson you're gonna have to learn when you walk in this world. Don't get attached to your plan, because see, a lot of times your plan may not be God's plan. And sometimes your plan just means that just was a roadmap to get you where you need to be. So don't be so attached and so rigid that you're not willing to change. And that's just a hard lesson we learn. We think that we just got to do it that way. No, you don't have to do it that way. Don't get attached. When you got a business, you may have to tweak it. You may have to start over. You may have to shut it down and start over, whatever. But don't give up because it didn't work that way. That was only a building block to where you eventually will go. So there are lessons to be learned. They're hard sometimes, and they're difficult. But failure is not an option. It's not an option. It just means you have a temporary layover. Like when you're on a plane, sometimes I remember one time I boarded a plane. I was all excited. After a while, well, when we gonna take off? But because there were some issues going on, we had a temporary layover. And that's how it is sometimes with your vision and your dreams. And these are difficult lessons we learn because we're ready to get this thing, going. We said, get this party started. But we have a temporary layover. Because when I was in with Nita a couple of weeks ago, we were excited. We're getting ready. Oh my God, we're getting ready to tear it up. But we had a temporary layover. It didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to, but we didn't stop. We had to regroup, pull ourselves together, come up with another format. Now, how are we going to do that? We had to say, okay, this didn't work. So, okay, it's not over because it didn't work. What it did, it just gave us a temporary layover. Then we had to get ourselves together. So when we go back, it's going to be tight.
We failed. It was an event, but we're not a failure.
That's right.
Failure is not an option.
It's not an option. It's just a temporary layover to where we're going. Eventually, that plane I was on, it took off and I got where I needed to be. But in the meantime, I had to sit there and wait for, the pilot, because I couldn't fly the plane. And so sometime in life, you got to wait. You don't run nothing. We think we do. Sometimes we do, but but don't give up. The bottom line is this: we don't want you to give up. We want you to know that you can do this. Just a temporary layover, or you may get distracted, but And next, if you'll know you've learned when you change. You learn when you change.
Like when am I going to learn a lesson? When you change.
When you change, that's when you're going to learn, not before. When you change.
But that even takes you having the desire to change.
That's right.
It starts with you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You gotta want to change to change.
You gotta want to, and you gotta want that thing so bad. You gotta want that as much as you want to breathe. Because because the way you are obviously is not working, and when you have a business or a dream or whatever, it's a process. So it's not the people we started with. They're not with us now. We prayed for a year. We talked about it for years. They talked about it before I came aboard.
About 15 years almost.
Yeah, for years. And then we prayed about it for a year. And it started out with 4 of us. And we would have loved for all 4 of us to be here tonight. But it was time for a change.
Yep.
We wanted it, but that's not the way, it was designed to be. So You know when you're on a change, when you get excited to see what the new day brings. You know you're getting ready for a change. You know you're on or getting ready for a change when the journey is more exciting than the destination. We get more excited. We know eventually we're going to get there, but we get excited because we're on our way. You know you're getting ready to change when you're constantly confronted with choices about your next step. So you know you're getting ready to change because you get excited about what's getting ready to happen. You don't even see it, but you know it's coming. So you get excited about something you don't even see yet. But so that lets you know you're getting ready to change.
Wow. That's crazy though. And that's so true though. And that it's like we you know, we get to our to that position. We don't really realize that, you know, we are the holdup and we have to be the ones to want it. And you know, going through that process now, this is where you have to learn to harness your potential. When we look at, you know, when you talk about a harness, you know, it's I remember I had one when my dog was little, as if he needed a harness. He didn't weigh he didn't weigh but about 3 or 4 pounds. And I had a harness. It was a little harness vest for him. And you know, but we put the, you know, they put on horses and stuff. And so you have to take a hold of your potential. And when we're talking about this, you have to stay grounded and present. Sometimes when we take off from something, when we take off from, you know, like I said, when we first start, you know, it's exciting. We're happy. We're floating. We're on cloud nine. And we're just floating up in la la land. But there, you know, there comes a time that you have to, like, you know, settle. You have to ground yourself and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to settle myself and let me take the straps and let me harness this thing so I can maneuver. So I'm going to ground myself. And when you ground yourself, you can see things. It's almost like you stir things up. Everything is stirred up in your life. You started this business. You started this movement. You're moving. You're shaking. Everything is just going and you're busy. But when the dust settles, are you really there where you're supposed to be? And that's why you have to be grounded and present. Because your mind can't be in la la land and your stuff is moving, because then it's moving without guidance, without you steering. Who's holding the harness? Who's steering the ship? Who's flying the plane? You're so busy, excited and happy and celebrating, but you're not watching the steering wheel. You're not watching the road. Who's driving? So you've got to stay grounded and present with your situation. Wow. Because the thing is, when you understand what you're doing and you get to that place where you hit the stumbling block, when you're grounded and you're present and you're aware, it's easy for you to get back up and keep moving. But when your mindset is not on the level playing field with all of the stuff that you have going, it's very easy for you to be off course and to say, you know what? I give up. I'm done.
Yeah.
I failed. The other thing is that you have to gain trust in the rhythm of life.
Wow.
When we look at the word rhythm, rhythm is ordered and recurrent. There's a flow here. There's a rhythm. There's a flow that happens. We say it so often. Those of us who are Christians, we some scripture quoting, non-believing people. We'll quote most scriptures that we don't believe that the law will allow. Steady quoting scriptures and don't believe the two that we quoted the last hour. Don't really live it and don't really believe it. But when we talk about the rhythm and the flow, your steps are ordered. There's a rhythm and a flow of life, and you have got to trust the vision. You got to trust the steps that have been ordered for you. You got to trust the path that has been laid. But when you don't trust it, you ever seen somebody dancing and they're on beat?
I'm clapping in church.
You know, the beat going one way and you can't seem to quite, wait a minute, I gotta find my little, oh, yeah, I found it. Okay, I got it. Got my groove. Got my groove. You're trying to find your groove.
Yeah.
You have to gain the trust in the groove. I tell people this all the time, and Ebony can relate. I tell people this all the time when they're in the studio, that you got to lay in the track. You got to trust the track, and you got to ride the track. Because when you're hitting against the track, and you got the rhythm that's flowing between the bass and the beat, that's where your pattern is. That's your rhythm. That's what they call that, the rhythm section. So you got your rhythm going, and when your groove is in the rhythm of the beat, that's where your melody lies. Your melody complements all of the things that's happening. And I tell people all the time, just ride the track. Stay in the rhythm. Stay in the rhythm of that track and your syncopation. And we miss it in life because we lose our rhythm, we lose our groove, we lose our pattern because we start listening to what everybody else says. We start doing, we get, like when we hit those roadblocks and somebody tells us, child, you might as well just close the shop. You might as well just close up and just go home. You know what? It's all right. It was good while it lasted. So who are they to say whether or not you're supposed to continue? You know what? What I think you ought to do, I don't want to know what you think. I really don't, because what I know is failure is not an option. So this is just an event. This particular part of what I did failed. And it's time for me to close up shop with this and move on to the next thing. Because failure is not an option. When we were on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, we knew we had to keep Can We Talk going because we know where Can We Talk is going.
That's right.
We know what's about to happen after February. We've been planning. We got things in motion. So we know where it's going. So we have to get our rhythm. We have to gain trust. We had to stay grounded and present and figure out, okay, we need to move this to Zoom. And we had to gain trust in the rhythm of what we were doing so that we stay the course. Because when the time comes and we're flooded, what will we do if we hadn't gotten into the rhythm of what we're doing with Can We Talk? We had to get our rhythm.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen. So when we were on Facebook and Instagram Live and it kept cutting off, and I'm like, Annette, you there? Okay, let me pull her back in. All right, she back. And then she started talking, and then we freeze. Am I frozen? Yeah, you're frozen. And then we'll hang up and come back. I'm like, oh my. We went through so many problems. But you know what? That was us doing like this. Okay, wait a minute. Let me find it. Okay. Oh, all right. I got it. Got my groove. We had to find our groove. But we found our groove, didn't we, Nat?
Yeah, we sure did.
We found our groove. Type that in. I like that. Find your groove. Find your groove. You got to find your groove and stay there because it's important. Find your groove. We've been dancing on here lately. You got to find your groove. Then you have to turn your talent into passion. Everything that we're doing, there's some type of gift or talent that you're exercising and operating in. If you're gifted with numbers and your mind and all that stuff, you have a business that just generates and whatever, that's your gift. If you have a musical gift, turn that talent, turn that cooking talent, that writing talent, that talking talent. Speaking is a gift when you can do it right. Public speakers make a lot of money. Turn that talent into passion. They make a lot of money. Turn your talent into passion. What are you passionate about? Because if you're passionate about something, you want to do it every day. You're intense. I have a strong feeling about this. I prepare for this stuff all week. For this moment. For sometimes 5, sometimes 8 people. I don't care. I don't care if it's 3. I don't care if it was me and Annette. Me and Annette have done this with ourselves. We practice. And we share these lessons like, you know what, that's a trip. Yeah. As we tell you, we're not psychologists, we're lifeologists. Yeah. So everything that we're giving you is self-applicable. We have had to apply stuff to our lives. We're like, whoa, my goodness. You know what? God will not let you teach something you don't know. Because that's why we hit that roadblock last week. Because why? We have to apply. We have to apply some stuff. And we had to stop. We had a moment. It was an event. We failed, but guess what? We were not failures. We regrouped and we figured it out, and we're back.
That's right.
And we're gonna move to the next level. So turn your talent into passion. Because your potential, so much potential goes to the graveyard. So much potential just dies. So much potential. You ever hear people say, "Oh, she had so much potential"? I want people to say, "Man, that girl did this and this, this, and this, and this, and this." Because you know what? I feel so passionate about everything I know how to do. And when I learn how to do something else, I want everybody to know I know how to do it. That's how I am. I've never been one to hold back on things I know how to do. I'm going to do it. Now, if I don't know how to do it, I will tell you, don't ask me to do that. I'm somebody's choreographer. I can dance a little bit. I dance a lot. But I'm not a dancer and I'm not a choreographer. Don't ask me to do that. I'm not doing it. When I was minister of musical churches, the first thing I said was, don't ask me to play piano or organ. I played a little bit. I was like, I can play a little bit, but you need to find a musician because I'm not one. But I can run your music ministry. But I'm not sitting on the organ because I can play it a little bit. But I'm not, this great organist musician. I can fool you for about 20 minutes. And if you figure out that's all I know how to play, you be like, oh, can you play this? No. So I know my limits. But the things that I'm passionate about, I work those things that I'm passionate about. And you have got to turn everything that you do into passion. Whatever it is, become passionate about it. Become intense about it. The first thing you think about when you wake up, the last thing you think about before you go to bed, then you're supposed to be doing it. And if you're not doing it, what are you waiting for? Because guess what? There are people waiting for you. There's some people that need exactly what you need. And what you're doing is you're sitting on the potential. Turn that talent into passion. And master your craft.
Oh, man.
If it's something that you are doing, it may be good, but it can be great. It can be incredible. I remember sending off a particular artist to someone, and she was great. And he said, wow, she's great. She's really, no, he said, first he said, she's really good, but she's not great. Then he said, you know what, she's great. Now I need amazing. And that is true. You have to. Songwriter Rico Love said he started off writing songs, and he's like, he wanted so badly for his songs to get played. And, they were all right. But he said what he did was he started trying to master the art. And he said, the only way you're going to master something is that you have to do it consistently. I used to tell Kyle that all the time. Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods because he hit 1,000 balls a day. You're never going to get math if you don't practice it. And bro, you got to pass the FCAT. So that means you got to practice math every day in my house. So in order for me to become the singer and the coach that I was, I had to practice. He said he started writing and he would write consistently. And he said, I will write songs consistently. And eventually he said, every now and then, I would write a decent song. He said, then I went to the point that I was writing decent songs consistently. And then every now and then, I'll write a good song. And then I elevated to writing good songs consistently. And every now and then, I will write a great song. He said, now I believe I've pulled my talent up so I write great songs. I know I write great songs, but every now and then, I write a hit. And that's how you master your craft. Wow. You have got to be consistent. Because if you're not, you're just wasting time and twiddling thumbs. And the Bible says it's like clanging cymbals and just hitting on stuff. You're just making noise. Saying, I can do it. I am tired. You're talking, but you're not moving. But I got a logo, but where is it? But I can sing though. Where's your music? I write good quotes. Okay, where are they? Are you posting them? Do you have a blog? Do you have a book? No, but they're in my phone though. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help anybody. That's not the stuff that helps anybody. So master your craft and harness your potential. Grab those straps and hold on and get to moving. because this is what you're supposed to do. And don't be worried about those events that you fail, because it's only for the moment. It's just that moment.
Yeah.
Failure's not an option. It's just the truth, man. Mm-hmm.
Setbacks for setups. Wow. You treat your setbacks as a signal to change your approach. The enemy of success is fear of failure. Remember, you're not a failure just because you had a setback. Be constructive and learn from this situation. Remind yourself, anyone who wants to do things of value in life will fail. And finally, be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, let me say that again. Be careful how you talk to yourself because you're listening. So just because you may have failed, you tell yourself you're not a failure. Because the more you tell yourself, the more yourself going to listen to what you're saying.
You don't know that right there, flesh and blood, is not reveal that to you, because I have had something in my mind that I've been trying to get out of my mind for the last couple of days. And it keeps coming in my mind, and I keep having to tell myself, no. Get that out of your mind, because even there, because that's where everything starts.
Yeah.
Be careful what you tell yourself, because
that's right. Because yourself listen, and then what happens with yourself start believing what you said.
That's so good.
So be careful how you talk to yourself, and you tell yourself, yeah, you can't. So yourself say, I can't, and then the other self say, no, you can't. Then you tell yourself, okay. So you've already been defeated, because you've had this conversation with yourself. And you would think that yourself would be encouraging, but sometimes yourself is your worst enemy, because yourself will tell you everything you can't do. So you got to learn how to control self and tell yourself that you can, that you are overcomer, that you can do it, that you can make it, because self is listening. We so worried about people speaking into our ears. We speak into our own ears, and we discourage our own selves, and we don't speak positive stuff to our own self, and we tell self, and self going to believe it because you told self. So if you tell yourself that you can't make it, self going to believe it. Why? Because you told them.
Right.
So you have to be careful. And you treat the setback as a signal to change your approach. So now you know you got to change your approach. Well, wait a minute now. I got to be more constructive. You know, I got to make sure I do what I need to do. I got to tell myself I'm not a failure. And I got to remind myself of who I am. Not only who I am and whose I am. So we got to tell ourselves, like you say Anita, and you need to say, huh?
Okay.
And you got to tell Anita, you're not a failure. I don't need to tell Anita, really.
That's
you don't need to tell Anita. I mean, it's nice if I probably confirm what she already knows. But if you tell yourself that, you change your approach on how you view life and how you view what you're doing and how you deal with people and the things you say. And, you know, even when you have thoughts, and you take control of those thoughts. And I know it's easier said than done. You know, but if you keep telling yourself, Yeah.
Mute yourself, Ebony. I think Ebony came on and she's like,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That is so true, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you would type this in, I'm going to tell myself that I am somebody. It's that simple. I'm going to tell myself. I'm going to encourage myself. So I'm going to tell myself that myself is somebody.
I'm going to tell myself.
I'm going to tell myself that myself is somebody. I'm sorry. So that's you telling yourself that you are somebody. And you know, we talk to ourselves all the time. I be having a fool. I be talking.
Conversation.
I do too. I be talking. I used to always say I do that because I talk to myself because I get the answer I want. But that's not always true, you know, because sometimes the answer I tell myself is not always the answer I want. But I'm learning how to tell myself that I am an overcomer. I'm not a failure. I am successful. I'm wonderful. I'm great. That kind of stuff, because you have to remind yourself, because every now and then self really forget how great self really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so be careful how you talk to yourself, because you are listening.
Mm.
And so also we have failing forward. This excited me so much, because when you really look at it, the words don't seem like they go together. How can you fail forward? Because you always think you fail, you will go backwards. No, what we're saying here, even though you may have failed, you still go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you may have dropped the ball, or just because things didn't work out, or just because it didn't happen the way you happened, you don't have to go backward. You can go forward. So I failed, but I failed forward. So I'm going to keep going. So in other words, okay, yeah, I did. I dropped the ball, but I don't have any regrets. Life is too short to live with regrets. I don't have no regrets. It should have happened a certain way, but it didn't. Okay, I'm gonna beat myself. Let's move on. Okay, it happened, and I have to accept reality. The hardest part of failure is admitting to yourself that you failed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's very difficult, and I've learned not to be a victim, but to be a strategist. Okay, I won't allow this situation to cause me not to go forward. So I'm gonna strategize. I got to come up with a new strategy, a new way of doing things. So just because I failed, and just because it didn't look like that I was going to amount to anything, I had to come up with a new strategist. I said, okay, now let me see, how can I not fail again? And if I do fail, how can I fail forward?
Mm-hmm.
And also, you approach every day as a school day. What that means is there's always a lesson to be had, and failure is one of our greatest teachers. So you treat failure as a school day. In school, there are days you had wonderful days, and there are some days that you fail. But but like life is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times the teacher will be standing up there teaching, he'll be at the chalkboard writing, and I'm like, I don't have a clue what they're talking about. And there were times I failed my test, but you know what? I still end up learning. I may have failed that test, but I didn't fail every test.
Mm-hmm.
So failure is like a school,
Mm-hmm.
like a school day. You have good days. You have days you may make an A plus. You may have days you had that big old fat F, but that's not every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a setback for a setup, because even though you may have had a bad day, don't mean I didn't learn anything along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It just meant that that's what I had to go through. So fail forward. Do not fail backward.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you fell forward, you're a step ahead of where you were when you failed.
Yes. Yeah.
So you just get up and keep moving,
Keep
because
moving.
it's just, it's set you up for what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And what lies ahead is much bigger than what was behind you.
Yes.
Because there's another twist to this thing, because you have to exercise your exclusive rights. Now, this is an interesting point, because when we look at the word exclusive, it means limited to possession or control.
Mm. Okay.
Limited to possession or control. So when a person writes a book or writes a song or whatever, or they have the exclusive rights to it, nobody else can control it. Nobody else can possess it. Nobody else can do what you do. Nobody else can get your blessing. The only person that can mess things up is you.
It's you.
Because guess what? When God made you, he broke the mold. There's one you. And the gifts and the potential that he's given you, you might see somebody else do something like what you're doing, but it won't have the impact if you had done it the way you saw it. Because trust me, work will get done whether you do it or not. But if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you will never be able to reap the benefits or see the impact that it could have had. You'll see somebody do a replica of something that you were supposed to do. It's like, I was going to do that, I was going to do that, but you didn't do it. I was going to do mine, and I was going to have it like this, and I was going to have this kind of people and this many, and mine was going to be, but you never did it.
You never did.
Somebody else got that, and hey, you went and buried yours, but somebody else exercised their little bit, and it became impactful, And yours could have been astronomically impactful, but you didn't exercise your exclusive rights. You have the exclusive rights to what you do. You have the exclusive rights to your voice, Ebony. Can't nobody sing like Ebony. Nobody's voice sounds like yours. Nobody can touch and pierce the people whose ears you need to pierce like you. Nobody can write the songs and the stories that you have. So you have to exercise your exclusive rights. And you know what? This is limited to possession or control. Nobody can control me. I don't care what they say, what they do. I don't care what the haters and the dream killers say or whatever. I don't care how many times you fail. I don't care how many people won't help and who won't, oh, they won't give me the track and they won't do this and they won't do that. You have to start with what you have and do it. Because you have the exclusive rights and nobody can control you one way or the other. You just have to do it. Exercise your exclusive rights. Because you know what? It might be a moment that it causes you to like stop for a minute. But if you keep pushing and exercise your exclusive rights, you will realize, yeah, they may not have wanted to help you. Yeah, they may not want to give you the track. Yeah, they might not. They might tell you, oh, your song is decent, but it lacks this and it lacks that. It might give you a hiccup for a second. But if you keep pushing and mute that mess out of your ears and exercise your exclusive rights, you realize that they just set you up to go to the next level, because the next song you write will have all of that in it. The next business the next thing that you cater, Sharon, is going to be so much bigger than the last. The next book you write in there is going to be like a piece of cake, and it's going to be like, you know what? All of the hiccups. Imagine how we're going to be in a couple of weeks after our little failed attempt. Oh, we gonna have it together.
Yeah, we
and
are.
We got a taste of it too. We got a taste of lights, camera, action. Sure, please, whatever. I'm gonna exercise my exclusive rights, and then learn that success is not an accident; it's an incident. Success is not an accident. It didn't happen by accident. It's an incident. When you have an accident, that's something that you don't see it coming. It's something that that is usually a harmful thing, or you spill something, you spill a glass of milk. I mean, I know sometimes when I have an accident like that, it's like, how in the world did I do that? It just slipped right out of my hand. I pick up something and drop it. That's an accident.
Yeah.
But when there's an incident, it's something that's likely to happen, resulting from changes and growth and development. So your success is an incident. You don't just hop up on something and say, oh, I'll just turn around, I just blink my eyes and I was successful. I got here by accident. No, I did not. You are not an accident. Your gift and your dream is not an accident. It's an incident.
Yeah.
You are here because God decided before the foundation of the world. He wrote the book on your life and knew when you were going to get here, how you were going to get here, when you were going, and when and where you were going to be conceived. All of that was planned. You're not an accident. You're an incident. You were meant to be. And the situations that you're in, the work that you're doing is not an accident. It's not an accident that we are here on Zoom. It's an incident from growth and development. And it resulted from hard work and consistency. It's an incident. So we want you to understand that just because you ended up somewhere that you didn't really feel like you were supposed to be, that somewhere back there, all the way back there, there was a setback for your setup.
Amen.
And you ended up right where you're supposed to be because you may have failed at that moment, but failure was not an option and you refused to give up. Because it will get easier. You will find yourself, you're in motion and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. This is great. You get a hiccup. Oh, wait, okay. All right. Whew, but I'm going to keep pushing. There's a movie I was watching and I didn't really like, the movie was so strange. I mean, I guess, Tyler Perry kind of put a little bit of flavor in it about how you don't give up. When Acrimony kind of threw me. I don't know what in there. I know you didn't watch the movie, but
Mm-mm.
Acrimony kind of threw me, and I apologize to anybody who hasn't seen it, but it threw me because the woman that he was with for 20 years couldn't see the vision that he had for this battery thing that he was trying to build. He spent all these years trying to do this, and she was working. She had inherited a house from her mom. Her sisters and their husband had a business, and they were secure. She was the youngest, but she married somebody who they kept, everybody kept telling her, oh, he's living in a fantasy world. He's dreaming that one day he's going to get this, and this. And now the people won't even take his calls. He's been banned from this guy. He's been to his office so many times that they don't want to even see him coming. And before you know it, all of the money that she had inherited from her mom dwindled down to nothing, and they were in the negative, all the way to the point that he had used the entire electrical system in the house to wire up this battery, and it killed the electrical system, and they had to rewire the house, and they ended up in the negative. Then he had a job, and the brothers-in-law, I think, got him the job, but he got a call finally from that place that they wanted to meet with him, and he went. Finally, after 20 years, but she kicked him out, she divorced him, she did all of that, and, seemed to have moved on with her life, and then about maybe a year or two later, he showed up at her job with a bouquet of flowers and a check. And he gave her a check for $10 million because he could not have done what he did hadn't it been for her. So she's thinking in her mind, oh, wow, I'm going to go and I'm going to be with my man, and I'm going to go to the apartment. They had dreamt about this apartment he would buy. He kept saying, if I ever start rich, I'm going to buy that apartment right there. And I'm going to get me a yacht, and I'm going to name the yacht, blah, 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 and all of this stuff. So everything he said he was going to do, he did. But in the interim, he had moved on. And she couldn't get her mind wrapped around it. That she let it go. She was right there. He was right there at the brink of success, and she gave up on him. But he kept moving to the point that even one time he was living in a shelter after the divorce. He got another call after all of that and was called into the office that they wanted to buy his idea. And he became extremely rich. Married, got a yacht, got the apartment he wanted, living high. Gave her $10 million and bought her mom's house back because she had lost the house and everything. Bought the house back for her, and she was so enraged that she went to try and kill the woman, and she ended up, she ended up dying in the end. But it was a great movie. But sometimes we find ourselves in positions like that we think that we get to the place of right before making it. And we feel that the failure, that failing moment, that those things that have stopped us or blocked us are like, that's the end. That's the nail in the coffin. I can't do this, and I can't keep moving. I can't move from this place. It was just a moment. It was an event. And if you get up and keep saying failure is not an option, this is a setback for a setup, I'm going to harness my potential. I'm going to go back to the basics. I'm going to cover all the bases, and I'm going to make sure that this time I get this right and this right and this right. Then you'll realize over time, because of the events in your life and because you kept moving and you kept pressing, that you got to the point of success, which is an incident, not an accident.
Mm-hmm.
That's something.
Yes.
That's something. Wow. Whew. I feel that in that moment. When I watched that movie, I was so encouraged by just watching him, like how he progressed. And then I saw how she was so enraged that she went back to her sisters because her sisters kept telling her all those years, he's a failure, he's a this, he's a that, he's no good, he's sucking all of your money, he's living off of you, he's bleeding you dry, he's living this dream. And he kept saying, but I have it. I just have to figure it out. And he kept trying. He would not give up. And he didn't give up. And then 20 years later, there they were. Boom. But he did right by her, and he went back to give her what he felt she deserved, which, I mean, somebody came and gave me a $10 million check, I might fall out on the ground.
I know I would.
He gave her a $10 million check. I mean, she could have done anything she wanted, but she was the one who chose to give up. So it's like, wow. But that, that's a crazy movie because I know Tyler Perry has often talked about his own life and how nobody was showing up to the shows, and he would show up and there were 3 people in the audience, but he kept going, and he spent 10 years like continuously believing and refusing to give up. And sometimes it's like that for some people, but think about where he would be if he didn't keep trying.
That's right. That's right.
If you don't even try, you can never even say I gave it my all. But you know what? Call me crazy. I just believe God would not give me something at this point in my life for him to not put me in a place of an accelerated blessing.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are young and they got nothing but time, don't waste it.
Don't
Use it and enjoy your youth. Because guess what? You can't get those years back. And if you don't make good on it now, you might regret it in the end that you didn't do a whole lot more. But I'm grateful that even the years that I didn't, I've lived a great, some great events in my life. That's why you can't listen to people. That's so true, Sharon. You can't listen to people. You can't listen to people. They'll drive you down the wrong path every time. But I'm grateful that I have lived and have done some great things. I've traveled. I've done a lot of good things in life. But I've learned that I have to keep pressing and keep moving on whatever it is that I see before me in the next season of my life, because guess what? God has never failed me. I moved from one situation to the next, and in each situation, I've been like extremely blessed. I'm like, oh, wow. So now I'm like, okay, God, I see the things unfolding. I see what you're doing, and I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep pressing. I'm going to keep believing, because I know that I'm living in the accelerated time. We don't have time to waste. We have to maximize every moment, and we have to maximize it now. We're living in an accelerated time. Got to keep it moving, Nat.
Yes.
Ain't that our slogan? Keep it moving. We have to have that Kim anointing. Keep it moving.
Yes.
Keep it moving. It is essential. It is necessary. Wow, this was encouraging.
Yeah, it was. Yes.
It was encouraging. And I'm going to stop the recording